Hello, AP Huggernauts. This is Mr. B, and today I'm covering Learning Target 1.5 from Unit 1, or Human Environment Interaction. And after this presentation, you want to be able to explain how major geographic concepts illustrate spatial relationships, as well as differentiate two schools of thought regarding human environment interaction: environmental determinism and possibilism. So, human environment interaction is really looking at how humans interact with, modify, and adapt to their natural environment and asking if the natural environment places any limitations on human behavior. Some broader concepts connected with human environment interaction include sustainability, natural resource use, environmental issues, and land use. Now, sustainability is a concept we cover throughout the course, but for right now, I want you to think of it as humans interacting with the natural environment in such a way as to preserve that environment for future generations, or more simply put, not destroying the planet. Land use is focusing on how humans actually use the land and the space, or in other words, for what purpose are humans using this space? And human environment interaction is really the heart of human geography. Now, before I move forward, please take a look at the picture to the right there. That's a human feeding a squirrel. You never feed a squirrel in this manner because a squirrel is nothing more than a rat with a bushier tail. So here's a question I'd like you to add and answer in your notes. And please, at this time, pause the presentation and then resume when you are ready. So cultural ecology is a study of how humans interact and adapt to the natural environment. And a couple schools of thought have emerged and connected with cultural ecology: environmental determinism and possibilism. Environmental determinism is the older of the two theories, and became popular during the 18th century or the 1700s. And it is the belief that the natural environment, specifically the climate and landform of a natural environment, are the most powerful or primary determinants of human behavior and, in turn, societal and cultural development. In other words, the natural environment is a primary factor influencing human behavior. Now, environmental determinism began to be associated with some racist ideology. Some Europeans began to state that, well, if the natural environment is the primary determinant of human behavior, then there must be a best natural environment in the world that produces the best human behavior. And these same Europeans began to think, well, our moderate temperate climates of Europe are the best in the world. Therefore, we must have the best behavior and we must be the most motivated, intelligent, and culturally advanced people in the world. And therefore, we should be able to go out and take over the rest of the world. Now, if you take a look at this map right here, we're really looking at um, dry lands that are vulnerable to a process called desertification. Now, this is something we're going to cover in a later unit, but I want you to ask yourself, does the natural environment determine what type of foods people grow or how they farm? Could the natural environment determine other human behaviors, such as what clothing people wear in the day to day? Now, possibilism is another theory attached with cultural ecology that's a little bit more modern. And possibilists say, yeah, the natural environment does still matter and it can limit human behavior, but humans can use technology and their ingenuity to actually modify their natural environment. So there's a lot wider range of possible human behaviors in any given natural environment. And there's everyone's favorite crazy haired historian who believes aliens are responsible for everything. So here we have the Palm Islands from United Arab Emirates. Now these are man-made islands, and what happened was people dumped millions of pounds of sand and rock into shallow coral reef to create new living spaces for humans. Okay, these islands are man-made; they did not exist in any natural environment. So this is humans using technology to modify an environment. Okay, and we're going to add the Palm Islands as places in the world Mr. B cannot afford to live. Here we have the Hoover Dam, which is responsible for impacting river currents to provide electricity to the city of Las Vegas, which you think of itself, Las Vegas is a city built in a desert. A lot of human technology, a lot of modification to a natural environment to allow that city to function. And here we have the Hoover Dam providing electricity to Las Vegas, which consumes a lot of electricity, especially with the casinos. A third example of possibilism we have comes from South America. So learning how to farm into hills What people did in this area was they developed something called terrace farming, which are these, think of these almost step-like levels carved into hillsides in order to maximize the amount of food that could be grown from a hill. That's humans using technology, modifying their natural environment, showing that there's a lot of possibilities into what humans can do in their natural environment. So here's another question that's asking you to compare environmental determinism and possibilism, and also to think, how are they similar? So take a moment, pause your presentation right now, and resume when you're ready to continue. Now, a third school of thought is even more recent than possibilism, and that's cultural determinism. Cultural determinists argue the opposite of environmental determinists and state that, you know what, the natural environment no longer matters and shapes human behavior. Humans have enough technology and we're ingenious enough that we can operate and develop a culture that's independent of the natural environment. Okay, and cultural determinists point to cultural practices that really exist and have no relationship at all with the natural environment. Okay, so I want you to think of a spectrum. You have environmental determinism on one side, cultural determinism, and the opposite side, and possibilism falling somewhere in between. And really, that's all I'm covering today from Learning Target 1.5. You need to know environmental determinism and possibilism to be able to differentiate the concepts. You should know what cultural ecology is and have a general idea of what is meant by the concept of human environment interaction. Thank you. Have a great day and stay away from those squirrels.